listening to LOA Recon with the Good Vibe coach Jeanette Ma, where we dissect the ins and outs and the art and science of conscious creation, all intended to amp up your manifesting game. Let's have some fun together. Hey, it's me again. You want to hear something cool? At least I think this is really cool, and I think it's cool not just because of what I experienced, but because I think you can too. This is not unique to me. I'm talking about the side benefits of developing your receiving skills. So let me give a little bit of background info. Receiving skills. This is something I was super lit up about last year. I've been lit up about it for a while because I actually believe that the ability to receive is something of a bottleneck in our manifesting success. Like, a lot of people are asking for things that they don't actually know how to let in. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it is a thing. So last year I had developed the Ultimate Receiving Challenge. It was a free thing online where we would go through a series of exercises in developing our receiving skills. In fact, that's still going. You can sign up for it if you want at goodvibechallenge.com. We're still doing it. Because this isn't just a one-time thing. It's not like you do it once and then you've got it for life. It kind of reminds me, actually, of one of my feral cats. That feral cat I caught last fall in my garage. I spent some time, I kept her in a room for a while, till I had to let her out and put foster kittens in there. But she was in that room for a while, and I would go down there and I would just spend time making friends with her. I would just lay down on the floor super, super quietly, not doing anything. Maybe I'd read, maybe I'd do a little work on the laptop, just so she'd kind of get used to my presence. And eventually, and it didn't take that long either, she came out and she started. I was going to have a podcast episode that didn't talk about cats. How do you like that? I have failed. I didn't mean to include a story about cats. Anyway, what I was going to say is that I made great progress with her. She came out. She wanted to be friends. She let me pet her. I even held her once or twice. She stood on me. I have pictures to prove it. They're on my Facebook page. And I was like, oh my gosh, she and I are going to be best friends. I just love this cat. I love her. Her name's Hannah. And then I got those other foster kittens, so I had to let her out of the room. I had to let the feral out of the room. But we were making such good progress. So I let her out of the room, put the kittens in there. And she hasn't been getting that kind of attention from me. Like, she's not in an enclosed room where I can go sidle up next to her and quietly be friendly. And what's happening now, she's like, she's a feral cat again. She doesn't really want to be friends with me. I tried to remind her today, actually. I was down there feeding Sheba downstairs, and she's good friends with Sheba, but boy, she doesn't want to be friends with me. But we were for a little while. Anyway, our receiving skills kind of feel like this. If you don't tend to them regularly, they will slip away. I could be wrong about that. But anyway, the Ultimate Receiving Challenge is ongoing. You can join us at any time. What I had developed was just a couple of basic exercises for us to get used to in the smallest, easiest ways of letting life be good to us. Little things like accepting a compliment. You'd be amazed how many people don't even hear them, or they interpret them in a twisted way, or they immediately dismiss them or return them. Like, they're just really uncomfortable receiving a compliment. Another thing we did was, how to let others help. A lot of people have an automatic habit of saying, no thanks, I've got it, whenever someone offers to help us. And you know what? Here's the thing about that. Universe is always listening. So when you say you don't need help, it hears you. Okay, anyway, we've got a variety of ways that we've been playing with increasing our ability to receive. You might already be in the group. If you're not, you can get the video tips delivered to you by putting your email in at goodvibechallenge.com. The video tips are also in the Facebook group, but they're buried in there somewhere behind so many messages, so many inspiring, fabulous stories of people who are sharing how they're becoming better receivers. Sometimes we're sharing challenges and asking for tips. But if there's an easy way to find the videos in there, I don't know how. I think it's just easier to get them via email. So that's how I would plug in. But anyway, what I wanted to pass along was this. Receiving skills. It turns out there's a fabulous side effect to becoming a better receiver. I probably shouldn't be surprised about this because we hear this sort of wisdom all the time about how you have to tend your own alignment before you can be of any service to anyone else. Abraham tells us that all the time. We also hear that analogy, you've got to put on your own oxygen mask first before you try to help anyone else on the plane. We've heard it. We know it. It makes good sense. And yet, when I started getting more diligent about becoming a better receiver, I noticed the super cool side effect. It was that I was becoming a better person. Maybe that's not the best way to describe what was happening because it sounds a little judgmental, but here's what happened. As I got better at letting life be good to me, I started responding differently to life. I just got goosebumps. Like I got more generous. I became more patient, more loving, more warm-hearted, more kind, more supportive, less critical, less sharp. Some of my rough edges, they just got smoothed out a little bit. It was just easier to feel good. It was so cool. I was smiling more. I was laughing easier. I shouldn't say was, it's still happening. I was happier to engage people that I might not have engaged otherwise. And I realized this was happening because I felt more full, more aligned. I was more me. And it was showing up in my interactions, in my conversations, in my ability to enjoy being of service to others. And I was already really good at it. It's not like I was starting from scratch. But it's just like they say, you've got to take good care of yourself before you can take care of anyone else. And it turns out when you do take good care of yourself, like in this receiving way, fabulous things happen as a result. Life it feels like it got easier, more colorful, more enjoyable. Turns out it's not lip service about how you got to take care of yourself first. I experienced that in a way that I never have before. That's what I wanted to share in this episode. It feels like there's more me to go around. Like I don't have to be so stingy or protective of my energy. I've got more to work with. And that in turn grows the good vibrations. Like it starts an upward trend that is such a delight to experience. It feels like becoming a better receiver has made me a better version of myself. So for anyone who thinks that receiving you might feel uncomfortable with it because it's kind of like making it all about you. Some people don't like that. It's like, they feel like they're feeding their ego or that it's selfish. It's a selfish thing to do. But I don't want you to dismiss this practice because, well, not just because I think it's essential to our manifesting success. I don't just think that. I don't suspect it. I know it. I know it. And that's really why I got lit up about helping people become better receivers. But it turns out you also become a better person. Again, when I say that, it sounds a little judgmental. Like better people are nicer and happier or whatever. But I just know that the better I get at receiving, the more I'm able to give. It's a thing. And I'm not that great a receiver yet. There's still a tricky part of our challenge that I have not nailed. Well, there actually might be two parts, but one of them actually I just decided wasn't as important as I thought. One of the exercises is turning around complaints, because when you're in complaining energy, you're in resistance mode. That's not receiving mode. So one of our exercises is to spot and replace complaints. But here's what I found in my practice with that, and this is a sidetrack. I didn't mean to bring this up in this episode, but what I noticed was that in fact, I wrote about this recently. I was talking about how if I resist complaining too much, it backfires. If I catch a complaint bubbling in the early stages, I can head that off at the pass. I can turn that around, no problem. But if it's already got some energy, some momentum behind it, I'm better off just letting that thing rip. Not in every situation, not in every complaint. Oh, you know what? I wasn't writing about this in a post. This was actually a call we did at Good Vibe University, where I was talking about how there's a way that complaining can actually be good for your manifesting game. And I know that doesn't sound like something a conscious creator would say, but I've experienced it. If you're a GVU member, we did that call at the beginning of May. So I liked that call a lot. If you haven't listened to the recording or read the transcript, I think you should check that out. In fact, what I discovered as I was researching that call, I wanted to have fresh research. I was sort of studying the energy of complaining and the effect that it had on my vibration. So I purposely wanted to experience it in order to pay really good attention about what was happening energetically and what happened once I made it okay to complain. Because, as a conscious creator, it's like, we know you're not supposed to have those negative thoughts. But as soon as I let it be okay, guess what? I couldn't find a complaint to save my life. I could have faked one, I guess. I could have remembered one from the past, but once I was at peace with them, not at peace, but looking forward to, it wasn't there. And that goes back to what they say about how what we resist persists, which is, again, why it seems like it's good to not resist it. Anyway, I didn't want to talk about complaints, but that is one part of our receiving challenge that I have not mastered. I kind of feel like I have in a contrarian way. The one I wanted to talk about was, this is the part of receiving it. I'm so bad at it, I'm having a hard time talking to you about it. I do not like to ask for help. It makes me so uncomfortable. I don't like asking anyone for anything. And in the beginning, I really just wanted to decide that this had nothing to do with receiving, that this is a different skill set. After all, this is asking. It's not receiving. They're not related. But you know what? And I was just trying to give myself that argument to let myself off the hook for being better at this, because I was not getting better at it. I hated practicing this. But it is related. It's directly related because it's a worthiness thing. It's a way for us asking for what we want or letting someone know how they can help us. It's a way to show universe that we're willing to be proactive about letting life be easier or better to us in some form or fashion. And this is coming from the girl who manifested early in my coaching practice. I intended that all my clients would come to me ready and excited to start work, that I would never have to ask for the business, because not just in coach training, but in sales training, we got trained about how to have those conversations, how to ask for the business and overcome objections and yada this and yada that. And I hated it. I mean, I was okay. It's weird. I wasn't that bad at it in sales world when I was doing it for corporate people. But when I was looking at what was required, in fact, I was a certified financial planner. And when I discovered the way many certified financial planners made their living by selling insurance, I realized I do not want to do this anymore, because the way I had experienced that was they were super pushy. They would, like, if you had a friend or a neighbor or a family member who was a financial planner or sold insurance, seemed like the same thing to me, that they were constantly in every conversation, they were checking in like, hey, can I give you a quote? Hey, are you satisfied? Hey, you should let me do. It was just, I hated experiencing that on the receiving end. So I never wanted to do that to anyone ever. And thus, when it came to time to build my coaching practice full of clients, I intended that I never had to ask anyone for the business. They would just show up ready and excited to go. No convincing required. I didn't have to risk rejection. I would never have to feel like I wasn't enough for them. That's really what I was afraid of. And I got dialed enough off of the don't want and focused on the do want that worked really well for me. Really, really, really well. So when I say I don't like asking anyone for anything, I'm not exaggerating. I built a business without doing it. Maybe that's a slight exaggeration, but not much. But here's the thing. That's a big vibrational gap. That's a big gap. You know what? I had an example of this today. Oy. So, could you hear me? Oy. I didn't like it. My car needed to go to the shop. My tags are up at the end of the month. And so I called last week and they said, bring it in Wednesday. Okay, bring it in Wednesday. And you know what it means to bring my car in? It's a 4-minute drive from my house, but it's about a 30-minute walk. And the shop has a, can you hear my sigh? Wait. The shop has a shuttle service. They have the means to drive customers back home when they are without a car after taking it to the mechanic. And I have neighbors who would happily give me a ride. I am sure. I'm mostly sure. I had never asked before. You know what I've done before? I've either timed the drop off to where, a friend was going to be in the area, or when I was going to go on a dog walk anyway, just turn it into a dog walk. But it's not a great dog walk. It's a busy road. There's traffic. It's not cool. Just because I'd never wanted to ask anyone for a favor. I didn't want to ask them for a ride. And even today, we're getting a lot of rain. I was like, is it too much rain? I'm like, hello, I have an umbrella. I seriously considered walking just so I didn't have to ask the shuttle driver to take me home, despite the fact that that is his literal job. All right, so what do you think universe is getting from me with this vibration? This vibration of, oh, don't worry about me. I'll be fine. I don't want to trouble anyone. I don't want to interrupt you or bother you. I'll figure it out myself. I'll make do. I mean, I wouldn't actually ever even say any of that to anyone. I really, truly don't want to interrupt anyone. This vibration. This is not the energy that is reflective of success. That's the vibration of unworthiness. It's the vibration of compromise and sacrifice and smallness, like hiding sort of. These are not energies that are equivalent to powerful receiving. Think about what it takes to receive a big dream. It's a different vibration than don't worry about me, I'll be fine. Like a big dream, that vibration is probably more like, yes, me, all the way, woohoo! It's probably more like that. Not, it just feels so constricted, to try to be under the radar and not bother anybody. In fact, who do you think of as a good receiver? Maybe, I'm making this up, I don't know them personally, I'm thinking maybe Beyonce, maybe Oprah. I know who, your 4-year-old nephew. You think they have any trouble asking for what they want, even when it puts someone else out? I don't think so. I don't know for sure about Beyonce or Oprah, but toddlers, I have direct experience. They do not hesitate to ask for what they want, and they don't care if you have to bend over backwards to deliver it. It doesn't stop them. They have no unworthiness programmed in them yet. Okay, so anyway, this is why today I started with one neighbor because I know the value, I know the importance of receiving, and I can feel the benefit of it in these side benefits I didn't even expect. So I texted my neighbor and I said, hey, is there any chance you're free in the next hour and a half? Because, so I forgot to tell you, when I dropped the car off, I told the mechanic, or I told the shop owner, I said, I think rather than try to describe it, I should just take your mechanic for a ride. In fact, I'm going to drive him to my house and then he can drive it back. So that's how I got home the first time. But when it was time to go pick it up, I was like, Jeanette, you just got to do it. This is the practice. This is an obvious place. And this is how we get better. We have to be willing to practice. So I texted my neighbor and I said, any chance you're going to be free in the next hour and a half? I got to pick up my car at the shop before 5. And, no problem if not, I'll ask the other neighbor if you're not free, so no worries. But just asking was a triumph for me, daring to ask. And after I texted one neighbor, I texted the other neighbor because I felt so proud of myself. I was like, I did it and I'm still alive. And I texted the other neighbor and I said, hey, any chance, da-da-da-da-da. And before I was even done texting the one neighbor, the other one said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I was getting ready to leave right now. I was like, oh my gosh, you can take me? Like, so surprised. It was an easy thing. I read an article recently, Borrow Sugar We Must. That wasn't the title of the article. They were talking about how isolated we're becoming in our society. I might have mentioned this before. This article is still rattling around in my head about how we are less interactive with our community and it's to our detriment, and that we have to go out of our way to connect with people. And it said something like, yes, it's easier to, just go to the store. It's easier than it ever was to go to the store and replace the sugar that you don't have. But borrow sugar we must. Saying, you've got to be in touch with your neighbors. You've got to be face to face with people, engaging them. And so this was like one of those chances for me to be in touch with my neighbors. It was really cool. I liked it. I really liked it. So, it reminded me of Brene Brown's work, because it did feel like I had to dare to ask. And you know why that asking is so hard for some of us? For some of you are rock stars at this and you are my heroes. Hats off to you. I strive to be like you when I grow up. But for some of us, the reason we hate it is because it's risking rejection. It makes us vulnerable. And that's why it felt like daring to ask. That's why it reminds me of Brene Brown's work. So it did. It took a little courage. And I know that sounds ridiculous to those of you who are good at this, but for some of you who know what I'm talking about, you know what I mean? And I'm telling you, this is worth getting over. So I think it's important for us to get deliberate about becoming better receivers. However, it feels good to you to do that. You can always join that Ultimate Receiving Challenge anytime if you'd like my support in that gig and others. We've got almost 1,000 members in there. It's super cool. But however you do it, don't be surprised if after you get some good practice with receiving skills, you find yourself becoming happier, more generous, just an overall general, even better version of yourself. I'm smiling already at how much you're going to like it. I hope you do. If you're already having these experiences, I would love to hear about them. If you're a member of the group, please post there or send me an email. Some people are in the email. They get the emails, but they don't do Facebook. So I'd like to hear from you privately if that's what it takes, because I can't be the only one experiencing this, right? Okay. Thanks for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Happy manifesting, everyone.